The Rocket Review is sponsored by Why Not Saloon.
We're glad to have back on guitarist. He's also a producer, band leader for In Theory. Mike Mostert, it's good to have you back on the show, Mike.
Good to be here.
You know, it's like, it's been a while, a few years, but, you guys, you and Tony have a brand new EP out now.
Yeah, it's called Promised Land. It's been in the works for quite a while. Really proud of this one. It's quite an eclectic record.
Well, I got to bring this up too, Mike, to where you've already had some hits on the charts with World's on Fire and with Stained also, right?
Right, so now we've had back-to-back hits. So not only back-to-back hits, back-to-back top 10. So Stained on Our Soul hit number 8, and World's on Fire, I'm proud to hit number 7.
Wow.
So we're proud, back-to-back singles.
Yeah. Well, and once again, listening to this new EP from In Theory, and I know, coming out of Muscle Shoals and, originally from LA, to where the album has a very different sound to me than some of the stuff you guys have done before. It's a bit heavier. I mean, I feel like it's got some almost like a, besides you always get compared to like a swampy Led Zeppelin, but I would say to me, it's like some of the tracks on this new EP, Mike, almost like Godsmack or Nine Inch Nails in a few places.
I'm glad you recognize that. Yeah, it's just, but it's not, we're not doing it on purpose. It's just going that way.
Right.
That's what we're feeling. And that's the big thing about like Tony and I when we write.
Yeah.
It's not like, well, let's try to be swampy. Let's try to be like Godsmack. Let's try to do, it's just whatever we're feeling, that's what we're going to do.
Well, and I got to bring this up too, Mike, to where you and Tony Covino both were signed with EMI previously,
Yes.
and then you guys regroup and do In Theory. But it's interesting to me, and once again, you and I have known each other for years, when you kind of got out of the music biz and got into the music gear biz, and then you got pulled back in Muscle Shoals.
Like the Godfather. I got pulled back in.
Exactly. They wanted you back in. And so, obviously, in Muscle Shoals, you ended up producing a lot of artists and working with some major artists down there as well.
Yeah, it's an unexpected full circle journey, and honestly, there's many times I pinch myself of who I've gotten to work with.
Yeah.
I mean, not only Muscle Shoals, to work with the Swampers and the Spooners and those guys to and then you bring it all the way to to the Andrew Gouché from Prince and Ice-T and from Johnny Highland to the guys from Rat or
well, I saw you on the stage with Jared James Nichols.
Yeah, how can you not love Jared?
I mean, blues rock guy endorsed by Gibson.
Yeah, and I've done a few shows with him, and he keeps you on your toes.
Yes,
he
and
goes
also,
for the throat.
And you don't want to work out with Jared either.
No,
unless you've had your Wheaties.
No, I'm so used to in the rock world. I'm a big dude in the rock world, right? I'm 6'3", 220 or so, and then I'm standing next to Jared, and I'm like, when did I become the small dude? But he's just a fantastic guitar player and a great guy. And
you got to feel great though this year especially, Mike, after coming off the previous songs that you've done within Theory and the previous EPs and everything else. It seems like this one is really gaining more ground for you as a band with the radio stations. The singles are on over 500 radio stations now. You've gotten these songs on the charts. Kind of a big step for a rock band in this day and age.
I think we're almost doing the impossible. It feels like we're doing the impossible.
Yeah.
A brand new hard rock band, essentially without a label. Now obviously we got picked up with Orchard, which is
amazing, and that's part of Sony also.
Right, it's part of Sony Music, but that's only for the digital end of it. But for for the FM, that's just all been driven by our team, and, myself, Tony, and our radio team. So that's the radio people getting behind it and the fans getting behind it. I mean, you can get it one time.
Well, I got to ask you too, does this help drive the photo shoots? Because it seems like every time following you on social media, it's like, oh look, Mike's standing in water for another photo shoot with another guitar, and then all of a sudden you're on the cover of the Studio magazine for a lifestyle thing.
Well,
so I mean, do you figure out, how do you work out the recording, the songwriting, the guitar playing, and then doing another photo shoot?
I just try to do it all. I mean, really. Honestly, one thing that as we get older, right? And as time is such a commodity.
Totally.
And if I have time to do a shoot, if I have a time to do a studio, I'm fitting it in. I mean, I'm really just ramming in every time that I can do something.
Well, and also you're bouncing between, just like, being in Nashville here in studio, you're also spending time in LA, you're spending time in New York. Obviously in Muscle Shoals, you've got people that want you to produce their music.
Right, and on top of that, touring on top of that as well. Now you add that, I think if I took a step back and I thought about it, I would get nothing done. So I just know I just have to get things done. And you know me well enough. I just go and I go and I go and I go until my body tells me you're not going anymore.
Well, and I want to bring this up too. Within Theory, particularly with the band mic, it seems like you guys are getting some great placement with some of the songs on movies and TV also, which is not an easy way to go, but it gets you known also, right?
It's all cumulative. I feel like there's not one, magic bullet for anything. So we have to do the licensing. We have to do the distribution has to be a certain way.
Just like Spotify. I was listening to your tracks last night. Going through the different songs and Promised Land on Spotify.
Yeah, and we added like a little extra bonus on Spotify. We remastered some of the older songs. So it's a remaster and remix of Heroes, The River. And Stain.
I noticed that. Well, I got to bring this up too, though, Mike. It's like I couldn't help but notice, and you and I are both kind of guitar nuts. But I've always known you as an electric guitarist, and certainly when we've been around each other, playing predominantly, electric guitars, and you've got some very nice custom Gibson guitars as well. But it seems like you're playing more acoustic and everything also. On this new EP, which I really like it. I like hearing you play the acoustic guitar and doing those things.
Yeah, it's been something new for me, and even though it's like I've played acoustic, right? But as far as a songwriting tool, it's opened up my palette. It's opened up. It's been.
It was fun to listen to the interplay with you and Tony. With his voice and with your guitar playing, doing the acoustic work. I thought it really opened it up, and then of course it kicks in with the rock music. But it's a nice prelude.
It's a balance, Well, even within the tracks, there's always acoustics. It could be 10 heavy guitars on top, but they're always acoustic, but also more for tonal things. So a lot of times when I'm writing or producing, sometimes there's 3 different tunings. So I'll have a standard tuning on one guitar, and then underneath it, say if I'm doing a G-related type of song, I have an open G. And then I'm like, okay, I like the 6th string. You know what? I'm going to just do a drop D. I'm going to add a 12th string to it. And then I'm going to do, it needs a little bit more chime on this note. I'm going to get a 6th string and just hit those notes. But I start layering all that. So it's been a nice little, flavor in theory.
Well, and I think that also comes from you being a producer too, Mike, because, I remember when you first moved to Muscle Shoals, and then you kind of got known as that producer rock guy there.
Right.
And that kind of grew for you, and you started doing all of these things that you hadn't done in years. And so now you're called on to produce other people's songs and albums and EPs and everything when you're back in Muscle Shoals.
Yeah, it's been an interesting transition because, like you said, first I was the CEO guy to CEO, producer, writer guy. People didn't know I was a guitar player.
Right.
And also, he can play.
Right.
And now I'm really rolling with the guitar playing end of it. And now it's gotten to a point where now they forgot I'm the producer guy. I'm the guitar player guy now. So now I'm embracing that thing. Okay, I'll be the guitar guy.
Well, and obviously too, when you guys are tracking the songs for In Theory, and I know that you're doing those in Muscle Shoals also. Yeah. How do you choose the musicians, Mike? Because all of these top ace players. It's like being in Nashville, and you've got the same,
same
great problem. Who do you bring on for these albums? To work with you guys?
Well, it's been, I have to say, we've been able to actually get a consistency on, say, like the last 7, 8 tracks. So it's the same drummer, and it's Clayton Ivey on keys. So those are always the same.
Right.
Except for one song, it's the same background vocalist. So it's Lanisha Latimer from Stevie Wonder.
Amazing.
So,
and plus you've had Victor Wooten on stuff before too.
I did a recording with. I always call it not a bad rhythm section. Victor Wooten and Rod Morgenstein.
Wow.
And then I feel like, which one of these things don't belong here? It's this guy right here. He doesn't belong here.
But I mean, what a great thing to be able to play. And once again, even on the songs you guys are doing for In Theory, to be able to bring in these kind of musicians to accomplish this.
Well, Clayton's been one of the guys that just blows my mind.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you ever worked with him or. But as far as I feel like as the Muscle Shoals musicians, I feel like he's like the the elite. But he's one of those guys where, as much as you know, sometimes you give up feel for music theory,
Right.
But he's one of these guys that his music theory level is so high, but he never loses the emotion. And when he plays with us, the 15-year-old kid comes out in him.
Right.
And he's jumping around, he's dancing around, and that's not his personality, but he just loves it. But he's also that guy who goes, "Oh, you're ending on that chord, Mike." And it's like the four of us, the two engineers and the chief engineer and I were looking at him like, yeah, that's what we meant. The G major minor 7th, 13th, whatever you want to call it. And I'll tease him on stuff like, what's that chord? No, you're not doing the right chord. Oh, your stabs are not right. No, you got, and he laughs at me. He's like, but.
And obviously too, with these, musicians and everything you're working with, Mike, I'm sure with Promised Land, already out and with the singles doing so well, you're probably already working on the next project too, right?
It never stops. It never stops. And also, talking about Promised Land and other musicians. Now that was one of the exceptions as well. Now on that one we have a guy you may know, Vinnie Appice from Black Sabbath and Dio.
Kind of a big name. Vinnie's known.
He's done a couple of things.
He'll do okay.
Played with John Lennon.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I hope he makes it.
One of these days, But Vinnie played on 2 tracks, and then on the album Promised Land itself, we brought in Perry Richardson.
Oh my gosh.
From Stryper.
Right.
And from Firehouse.
Yeah.
Again, here's another rhythm section that's not too bad.
No, not at all. Well, I got to bring this up too, Mike, because you won't, but but you've also been on Alice Cooper's show, you've been on Eddie Trunk's show, Sammy Hagar's show.
True, yeah.
Besides the magazine covers and everything else, it seems like this is like the year for In Theory really getting the acknowledgments, and getting the airplay that you guys have been seeking this year.
It feels like it. The best way I can articulate it, it feels like, when you go on a roller coaster and you're around the top and it's clicking. We're right almost on that last click and about to catch momentum and go for the thrill of our life. Right. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, and I'm sure that also, you're looking at, with the touring, with the festivals and everything else that you guys are going to be involved with.
Well, we've already started our touring, in
and
April
done
and May.
Well in the Midwest.
Midwest is loving rock.
They love rock.
They love rock.
Yeah, so is Nashville.
And they love In Theory.
Yes.
Go figure, In Theory and rock. So right now we're fielding offers as far as festivals and tours. So we'll be back on the road. It looks like end of July we'll be back on the road through September.
Incredible.
So and
it doesn't hurt having some hits under your belt either.
Well, that's a big thing. It's like I was saying, it's not one magic bullet. And having back-to-back hits.
Yeah.
Who really, in the rock world, who's really doing that?
Unheard of. Well, I want to make sure also, Mike, for our viewers and everything, for the website, for the social media, to find out where you guys are playing, near them, so they can come see In Theory live. Where should our viewers go to?
Well, we have a brand new website, so it's intheoryoriginal.com, and it's everything In Theory. It's very intuitive. There's another thing we also have on there. We have a SoundCloud player, in which you can listen to 10 songs.
I was on the website.
So the cool thing, what we want to do in this day and age, is give somebody the album experience. So because again, you can't just listen to one song and say, well, that's that band. Like at least with us,
right.
You can listen to Memories. It's completely different than Worlds on Fire, than The Promised Land. So, and again, we were very deliberate on the sequence of the songs on the SoundCloud player. So it takes the listener on a journey.
Right.
And now, we take it one step further. If they do want to, buy the CD, or they like what they're hearing.
Right, and there might be a limited vinyl also.
Yeah, we're going to do, right now we just put out the CD for Promised Land. And I think we're only going to do a run of 100.
Yeah.
And of course, since blue, we're going to go with blue vinyl.
Right. Totally. And the album cover looks great for Promised Land also.
It leaves a very...
It'll be nice on t-shirts.
Interpretation.
Yeah, I like it.
And
then on social media, everything is In Theory also?
So In Theory, Facebook is very simple.
Okay.
Facebook In Theory. Instagram is In Theory Original as well. So Facebook, Instagram, intheoryoriginal.com, website. I encourage everybody to go to the website.
Oh, totally. The website looks awesome. And also, I want to encourage everyone, if you listen digitally through Spotify or whatever platform, be sure and check out all of the songs on Promised Land. I think you're going to like them as much as I do. There's a different kind of rock song for everybody on there. CDs available. There's going to be a special edition blue vinyl. So you want to check out the website for that and follow In Theory on social media. Mike, it's great to have you on the show. Congrats to you on all the incredible.
It feels like I've been on the show like 10 times.
I know, right? Or more. And but In Theory is doing so well, and a huge congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.